Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, the 10th of June in Gemini, and there was a solar eclipse this morning at way early to the morning. And yeah, we got another reading from the Many Moons book, and this one is called A Wild Self-Welcoming. Solar eclipse in Gemini. This Thursday begins another lunation cycle with a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun, obscuring its light momentarily from vantage point on Earth. Eclipses correspond to healing, shadow work, and amplified energy. They help us with different perspectives and perceptions, and they assist us in burying and composting what we must in order to begin new chapters. This often happens in a sudden way or through rough circumstances. Across the globe, religions and cultures have interpreted eclipses in different ways. Various European cultures attached the striking visuals and intense energy of eclipses to the fall and specific death or event. Blame it on the moon, indeed. There's nothing wrong with corrupted power and abuse meeting their demise. And in this way, eclipses can be interpreted as a power exchange or an energy flip. The power goes off, so we light a match. The base of a triangle is most important to secure, not the single point. Healing opportunities often feel uncomfortable. There is some heartbreak woven into the process of going beyond harm. Speaking up, getting out, going wild can create tension or fallout. Eclipses ask us to make different decisions around larger core wound themes in our lives. Eclipses ask us to make different decisions around larger core wound themes in our lives. Moves, metaphoric or literal, and breakups happen around eclipse seasons. Issues of security and safety get heightened. Reclamation of identity and of our dreams often coincide with this time. Meghan and Harry left the monarchy during eclipse season. A friend of mine decided to call her spiritual teacher to task on unethical behavior during an eclipse, then publicly divest during another. Like overthrown empires, eclipses have the potential to be revolutionary. Revolutions generally involve conflict, resilience, and some sort of sacrifice. This is a time on different levels for sudden radical change, and there's nothing wrong with a lot or a little revolution. A few weeks ago, the lunar eclipse brought up an emotional, ideological, and relational pattern that is now ready to be addressed. The Lumineers helped locate a yearning, a hunger, a site of deep desire, and now you may find yourself in a space of murky alchemy, not entirely sure how to best integrate the revelation and the emotional embodiment, the present and the future, the conscious and the subconscious, the sun and the moon. This is an opportunity to create your own process of discovery around loving yourself through deep change. To love oneself in the unknown, to adore oneself through fumbles, mistakes, and doubt, is a radically healing practice. It will most likely involve the following ingredients: space, rest, listening, holding, summoning, seeing, copious acts of compassion, an ability to tolerate discomfort, an ability to have capacity for complexity, and the eagerness to traverse the unknown. This is a moment for you to call in an aspect of self that has been exiled, to summon a wild twin. Invoke the support of Gemini, that magic that comes from curious relationship. This is the blessing of the lovers. The world pushes you into poetry by withdrawing something, not giving it. In his book, Courting the Wild Twin, Martin Shaw recounts an ancient fable that tells us that when we were born, our counterpoint, a wild, a curious shadow twin born of deviousness, possessing much of her vitality, flung out the window into the forest, and part of our life's work is courting and honoring the exiled parts of who we are. The wild twin could be the aspect of ourself that is effortlessly brilliant and unique. The aspect of ourself that was discarded, abandoned, not listened to, not nourished. Part of the work of our lives is to locate our wild self and in our search uncover the secrets and gifts of our destiny. Recovering and uncovering our wild self is often filled with ambivalence. First, we must acknowledge our desires, which helps us accept who we are. We commit to self-understanding and to self-compassion. We must address what has been taken from us, what has severed the connection to our intention to the wilderness, to the wildness. It says wildness, I read that wrong. We acknowledge that we might have spent years going down dead ends, chasing emotional red herrings and in futile attempts to prove ourselves to people who are unable to acknowledge our dignity. This stage of the process usually invokes deep grief, helplessness, and rage. Emotions that we aren't taught to acknowledge, let alone love ourselves through. Self-forgiveness is an anecdote, and the choice of curiosity opens a beautiful door of awareness, and through it, we catch a glimpse of the world, catch a glimpse of the wild twin ahead of us on the path, inside the vibrant garden of self. In the center of this garden, we find the lovers. This archetype depicts queer magic at its most verdant. Through the ways we relate to ourselves and to one another, we find ourselves. The quality of the dialogue also becomes a third energy, and there is potential, creation, and portals to explore. It is a snapshot of dialogue between muse and angel, and it is a way to ground ourselves while holding hands with something heavenly. To become three become one. Dualism is but one aspect of the holographic existence, and contrast will always give us information. But ultimately, we know either or can never be a final destination. Contrast will always give us information, but ultimately we know either or can be a final destination. Everything does not exist in conflict or merely in opposition to something else. The binary exists, but not in a finite, constructive way that evangelistics and gender essentialists would want us to believe. The binary is two extreme positions of a polarity that exists as a part of a circle, a spiral, an orbit. We exist within ambiguity, within the edges, within our own experience, within the unknown, our present, our future, our past, our levels of consciousness, our shadow, our ego, and our wild twin self all reside in the realm of our spirit. The lovers remind us that we get to choose which aspects of self to express. The lovers teaches us how to listen, how to relate, and how to communicate with various aspects of consciousness. I liked when my reading and the potato cutting was like matching. In order to collaborate with this eclipse for healing, I invite you to spend some time today and over the next few days, reflecting on aspects of your wild twin shadow self. That is, the brilliant parts of you that were threatening to your early caretakers, your teachers, peers, or the white supremacist patriarchal society. The aspect of you that exists far outside the confines of right or wrong, the parts of you that demand to be explored, experienced, expressed, the diamond part of you that is ready to be shown and deeply, fiercely loved. As the moon relates to the sun in an unorthodox way, imagine a most glorious version of yourself as a future lover beckoning from a fascinating corner of the garden in bloom. And then we're running on 11 minutes right now on this video, but there's a solar eclipse tarot spread and ritual and a wild twin meditation, and I'll probably make those on a second video and then send it. Okay. Much love.